Welcome to the AI First Business Podcast with Tina Yazdi, where we show you how companies, teams, and leaders are turning AI hype into ROI.
You're going to hear phenomenal stories of people that have kind of ran through walls to achieve what they want to achieve. And you're also going to hear some interesting lows too, including a time where GoCardless, the early team at GoCardless, were accused of stealing a painting, which the Dependabot team would talk about a little bit more.
So Ash and I met because we're colleagues, and we were chatting about
a vault, like a cavern.
Like a cavern of amazing content that he recorded a couple years ago that I felt like was kind of a responsibility to share with the world. So Ash, before we get into what I'm talking about, who is Ash?
I mean,
it's so existential.
Yeah, it's really hard. So I've been in the tech space for coming on like 10 years now, and I've been kind of around entrepreneurship and startups for a similar amount of time, built and failed at many of them over those kind of 10, 15 years. And in particular, this cavern or vault of episodes that's over 3 years old is about the GoCardless Mafia.
Okay, so GoCardless Mafia is kind of like mimicking the PayPal Mafia. Can you tell us a little bit more about the PayPal Mafia for anyone who may not have heard of that?
Yeah.
Nice. And why should people care?
Yeah, absolutely. So the PayPal Mafia were kind of a concentration of individuals, including Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, etc., that had founded PayPal and gone on to do incredible things. We all know what Elon Musk has done. GoCardless Mafia is essentially the UK equivalent of it in the UK fintech scene. And a lot of the founding team of GoCardless, the early stage team, have gone on to do incredible things as well. So in the podcast episodes, you'll hear about, for example, Steve, who founded Duffel and has raised over $50 million to kind of create a travel API ecosystem. You also hear about Amaury, who founded Limio, Limio being a kind of subscription payment platform.
Can you guess which one was the one that I'm the most excited about and was the most fascinated by?
I think it's got to be the inspirational story of Duane.
It has, yeah.
It's got to be, hasn't it? I'm stretching my memory back quite a lot here, but Duane was just a fascinating character, like highly intelligent, very ambitious, and essentially when he was younger, you'll hear the story about how he got in quite a lot of trouble. I won't go into the details, that'll be the teaser. He got himself into quite a lot of trouble and then actually became one of the first customers of GoCardless and started delivering on some of the software developments within the platform. It's a really inspiring story. Tyler. Yeah, Tyler is from one of the venture capital companies that actually funded GoCardless in the early days. And of course they made, I don't know now what it's going to be, 10, 20, 30x of their initial investment.
One of the things that we chatted about when we were thinking of should we release this, I felt strongly that this was still relevant. Duane being a perfect example, it's their life stories that they share in these podcast recordings. These stories are not people that come from, they grew up in California and went to your typical places that you have entrepreneurs. Yeah. They're all 5 completely different individuals from completely different countries and backgrounds, upbringings. Like you start to see yourself a little bit more and what's possible for you.
A lot of them, including, let's say, Steve talked about his early upbringing, and I was really keen to actually dig into that. I recall him, for example, talking about he had an obsession with like Lego as an example. And the reason I dug into that, Tina, is because I believe that, a lot of the kind of formative years of people actually define who they become and their ambitions in life. And so getting to the bottom of that with a lot of the kind of interviewees was quite critical to tee up the rest of the context as to how they got on with GoCardless and then how they went on to found their own companies. Because I don't only think their culture is shaped within the people that are within an organization, but it's also built by the people that you recruit into an organization. So I was quite keen to understand, were there any similarities between each of those individuals that I interviewed as well?
Did you see a thread through all 5?
I would actually say that the thing that ties them together is their diverse experiences. Like I remember, for example, Steve, he spent a little bit of time in the US, he spent a little bit of time in a few different countries, and it's that ambition to adventure. And you'll find out more on the podcast, which again shows his level of kind of ambition and desire to kind of set a goal and attain it.
Discipline,
athleticism, all of that sort of stuff.
Slight insanity.
Yeah, slight insanity. Right, yeah. If you're listening to this. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
You're going to dig into my past, are you? Okay.
If an alien researcher were to observe you between the ages of 10 to 12, is there anything unusual that they would notice about what you're interested in and what you do with your time for the alien researcher assigned to your case?
I think the only thing that could possibly stand out is like, I was just so naughty. I remember my parents always telling me, like, we didn't want any more kids after having you for a couple of years. And not in a bad way. They like, had a very nurturing and loving family.
They were at their limit.
But I was naughty. So they were at their limit. So I think what you would likely observe is a person that was definitely testing the boundaries.
Yeah. And do you think that spirit
Yeah.
has gone away, or do you think you've just channeled it in a different way today?
I think I've had to channel it in a different way. Mm-hmm. And you'll hear this in the podcast as well. So, for example, I remember very vividly Amaury saying, don't do entrepreneurship because it's hard. And I've heard it on the outside before. All he did was eat potato salad for a couple of months because they really couldn't afford anything else. And you'll hear Elon Musk saying this again, where he says, like, it's literally like chewing on glass while staring into the abyss. And I would say, like, after many failures in my youth with startups, I would say that I found it difficult to find the ambition to start again. And so I've had to channel my focus into a more structured path in a career where I kind of service startups and scale-ups instead of actually building them. But hopefully one day, fingers crossed, I'll build my own thing as well.
Again,
hopefully. Yeah. And it will actually be successful.
Well, I mean, it depends if you learn something from it, that's the type of success as well, right?
That's true. Yeah, agreed. Yeah.
Cool. Well, Ash, I'm really excited to release these. Awesome. Thanks, Ash.
Thanks for listening. If you've gained value from this episode, please drop us a 5-star rating on Spotify or a like on YouTube. See you for the next one.